sacred garden culture. Divine children of the sun, as it was in the beginning. In the beginning, a new day has begun. I introduce High Priest Kwatamani.
As I remember, about a little over 2 months ago, very close and dear person to us came into the jungle. His health was failing him. Brethren was kind of frustrated because his feeling was that we were not moving fast enough because the pain was increasing, and he had made a decision that he wanted to opt for a holistic living, a natural, a earth solar healing experience. What they and I needed to know clearly and sincerely was whether this experience was truly what he wanted, or whether it was just one of those momentary spurts when pain occurs. Because so many are taken do anything for the moment, but they're not willing to follow through afterwards. They're not willing to commit to the holistic living energies that's been put forward from the most supreme unseen ancestral Naga priesthood, as well as from the essence of the presence, the physical presence, the seen presence of the ancestral Naga priesthood. I asked him, in the midst of his pain, you know, there's not much that I can do unless you're willing to take a 100% holistic living commitment to the consumption of whole life energy, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Often over the time I've explained to him that the consumption physically is easy. You take some fruits and vegetables and seeds and nuts and you put it in your mouth and you eat it but it's much more than that. Baba Olatunji, Baba Olatunji, as many of you must call him, has been one that's been very rewarding until this point. 2 solid months of whole life energy, 2 solid months of the best herbs in the jungle. And in this process, what we did tell him has now come into fruition. What we told him is that we need your mate to make the same kind of commitment. That would seem to be a lot for an individual who's very sick and in pain, and you agree with anything. But I told him our agreement has to be a holistic commitment. And lo and behold, by the blessings of the most supreme unseen ancestral spirit presence of masculine and feminine energy, his mate is now, at this point in time as we talk, a 100% consumer of whole life energies. So, Olatunji.
I greet you in the name of Divine Spirit Consciousness. That term I've learned since I've been dealing with the royal family. I knew of the Supreme Being, the Divine Essence, and so, but Divine Spirit Consciousness. And I also greet you in the name of our ancestors who laid the foundation for us by providing food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security. I take this opportunity to express my deepest appreciation and thanks to my beloved wife, Lucia, for her unwavering support. Words could never express my profound gratitude. Over the years, I have come out of ignorance and disrespect for the feminine essence. And over the years, I've studied and found out that these type of experiences has totally confirmed my, profound respect and honor for that feminine essence. High Priest Kwatamani, again, words cannot fully express my deepest gratitude to you and your family for reaching out. I recall when I arrived here 66 days ago, I laid on the floor and said to my wife and Brother Hodari, Thank you so much in tears of joy for giving me a chance to live again. Later on through this experience, as I looked at what was coming and continues to come out my system, the toxins, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that I was a living dead. The toxins, I have no idea how I could have been walking around and be alive. I was nothing more than a zombie in a sense. So I knew. And within a couple of weeks, I had spent $1,000 on examinations. Just a waste of money. And some of it said your blood is in order, this is in order, the only thing you have is a tumor in the gallbladder, 2.5 centimeter tumor in the gallbladder. But I know that was just a sign, that was just a symptom of what I was experiencing. Because I knew on the physical level that I had already given up life. I knew it had reached a stage where I activated the death mentality. So therefore, I reached a stage where I could barely move my hands, I could barely talk, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't consume anything. So when they told me that my blood was all right and this was all right and so on, it was, I mean, like High Priest would say, these people should have just told you, hey man, you know, take it easy and go ahead and die.
Get your last one.
Or they were totally ignorant. So what I'm saying is, I knew that the tumor, although serious, was perhaps one of the least part of the crisis that I was facing, because I felt my liver had gone in, I felt my lungs had gone in, I could barely breathe, and likewise my kidneys and all of that. So I must express my appreciation. It was not an easy journey, of course. And then I began the lessons of the importance of submission, the importance of respect, the importance of humility. These are things I studied in African culture for more than 40 years. But to actually be in a position where I had to apply it, it's the first time I had to apply it on that level. Letting go of what I thought made me who I am, to find out that my toxic thought process had brought me to the brink of death. And I'm thankful of your principle in that if that didn't work for you, brother, don't bring it here. If it didn't work for you, don't bring it here. Leave that and let's look at it. The second thing I appreciated most about the whole process is after 40 years of studying and reaching certain level of consciousness and hearing people claiming consciousness, right? Everybody wants somebody to worship them. I am the Honorable such and such. They give you some type of information that is helpful, that is truthful, but then they want you to worship some kind of idea, some kind of philosophy. I appreciated the fact, because I had my suspicions about anything, that during my 66 days here, I have never one day heard you say, follow me, worship me. The basic thing you informed me, which I recognize from my research and experience, either you follow the laws of the universe, the laws of nature, or you follow the laws of death. Very simple. I don't see any philosophy in that. And as we go back to the height of the information that our ancestors set for us, that is the simplest way they put it. We are creatures of the universe. We are creatures of nature. And we got ourselves in the mess that we got ourselves in because of our disrespect and violation of nature.
That's right.
And those who guided us through that, our ancestors. That's what got us in the mess that we're in. And we only have one option: to go back to the laws of nature. I want to express my deepest appreciation to this family for guiding me in that direction, reminding me of my divine essence. Perhaps the biggest challenge of all of it, especially after I got over the initial crisis, the pain had gone away and so on, was, now that I feel better, my perception of limited space and, what was the second part of it? Doing nothing. And that took me, I guess, into the mental consciousness where now I had to be forced to be creative. How do you do nothing, quote, I use that in quote, and how do you operate in a limited space? And it is then I began to recognize that other aspect of the battle with Set. And my wife in her work, her professional work, always talk about the iceberg, and what's on top, what's underneath is so much more profound.
That's right.
Right? So now in looking at that, as I begin to hear my head begin, as the physical part of it is being taken care of, and the mental begin to hear all that chattering in the mind, where Set is beginning to tell me, this might not be true. Look, there gotta be some flaws. And I begin to see where they're looking for faults.
That's right.
That this is not real, that there gotta be something wrong.
Right. That's right.
But in that do nothing limited space, one in this situation had to reach within self, divine self,
That's right. The
and
essence.
recognize that toxic mindset and how to mentally remove those toxins and replace them with divine energies.
Your mate made a decision as we communicated. We talked with her earlier. Your mate turned the table and we watched it. It's so beautiful to see that she turned the table and she's been consumed right here with you. And no one knows where she's at. She disappeared all of a sudden. She's out here in this jungle. Sister Lucia, please give us your thoughts on this whole process, because you've been on it from start to finish.
Greetings, Baba Olatunji and the royal family. And greetings to my husband. It's really heartwarming and my heart feels full to be at this point, because when I left Baba Olatunji, he was in a bad way, but I knew that I had left him in good hands. If I had left him in any other institution, I don't think I would have made it on the plane to leave the country. So I left him in good hands. In fact, after 2 weeks of being here and I observed what had happened, I knew everything would go very well. While I was away, as I landed in UK with my daughter, I said, I have to start preparing myself for when I get back. My husband is on living foods. I need to start preparing myself to be on living foods as well. I have knowledge of what is happening out there, and I know it does not work. So the evidence of this system working started before I left. So I said, if in 2 weeks I could see that kind of transformation, imagine what's going to happen by the time I get back. So I needed to be ready, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. The relationship that we have built over the years, we, as my husband and I, along with the royal family, has been a good one. We didn't necessarily practice everything, but I knew it was good. So this was an opportunity for us to get on that rhythm. And definitely I didn't want it to pass us by, especially given the crisis that I saw my husband going through. And as I said before, definitely I do not, as the feminine essence in the relationship, I do not remove myself from what happened to him. I take responsibility for my contribution to his illness. And in so doing, I also needed to take responsibility for correcting what was happening, what had happened, and my role. So, and it was not difficult. It's tying in all the studies and the research that I have done into real practice, putting it into real practice, and the discipline that is required came over the past 2 weeks, where, okay, I'm here, I'm eating the foods, observing. Fortunately, I'm a curious person, a fast learner, and love to experiment. So as my taste buds get active, I started to recognize, oh, this is the combination. So it has become quite exciting for me. And that is the physical part, and also stimulating emotionally, because I also am able to recognize the vibrance in my husband as he's eating these foods. So naturally, any woman in her right mind would want that kind of vibration to continue. So I am excited about acquiring this knowledge and this experience.
Saying something a little earlier. You were saying you were doing something with his head.
Yes.
And
yes.
You were saying, very soon I'm going to start to do, what were you saying?
Yes, I will start playing in his hair, because his hair is growing, all of these things,
And he's been so amazed. He's like, stuff is growing up here, High Priest.
After 40 years.
After 40 years, he's getting something up here.
All the vibrancy, and the voice, and the confidence, and the humility, and the ability to say, okay, I appreciate what you're saying, I understand, that
shared relationship.
Shared relationship is so enlightening for me, uplifting, and it makes me feel very secure as a woman.
What about those? He had a lot of body burns from that. He had liver sclerosis.
His skin is clean.
Yes, but to think of when he came here, as you recall, he was all under here was saggy, and it was really like burnt.
Yes.
And then on his body, he had all these burn marks.
It's cleaned up.
Yes,
they have
to take a look. You don't mind. Don't get nude on us now.
First, just a little background. In 1973, I came, after 2 years, I completed my military service in the U.S. About 6 months after I came out, my skin began to break out. It was a horrible thing. These pus would be coming out over 40 years, about 43 years ago, when this happened, and I never was able to correct it. Because at certain points in my life I made some adjustments to my nutrition and different things like that. I was sort of able to arrest the problem, but it was never corrected, because they say they define it as psoriasis, and they say there's no cure for that.
Oh, really?
Right? So that it's not completely all gone yet, but even when I came here, you could have seen the whole thing, but you notice how the skin is coming back to normal now. It's here.
Crusty.
This used to be here.
White crusty.
This one here, this used to be white and crusty. And I had some on this knee here too, and you could see it is in a short time. It's only 6 weeks, but I'm hoping that by the end of 90 days we've probably gone away. And then I had some up here too.
Oh yes.
You could see it. This was all white. Still have a couple spots, but the melanin has taken over, and eventually it would come back. So you see how the melanin has replaced. So you could see the large portion, and I had some at my back too.
That's right.
I can also say that was one of those things that contributed to my illness, because I suppressed that. I was so ashamed. I always used to love to go to the beach and display. You know, I thought I was Mr. Handsome, so I like to show my body. But when this thing hit me, it was so embarrassing that even when I go to the beach, sometimes I want to sneak in the water and all of that. You know, so I mean, it is what a feeling it is. You know.
And you were able to recognize that some of those bad habitual ways from the past,
yes,
had adversely affected your liver.
Yes, certainly my drinking habits as a young man, people wouldn't identify. Now that I reflect on it, I identified myself as an alcoholic. Certainly the lifestyle I live with all the uncertainties and the fears and all of that produced those toxins that went to the liver and contributed that. Later on I would learn a lot of these things. All of the stress and different things that I was taking on, unnecessary problems, getting caught up in the political madness and all of these different things like that, trying to achieve the dream and all of that, bringing so much stress that they just added to the toxins in the liver.
That's right.
And it's interesting, my wife was sharing with me the other day about the liver condition, to find out that they really don't transplant the liver.
No, the liver is a serious issue.
It's a garbage dump.
That's right. That's right.
To give another transplant another person garbage dump. But basically, this is definitely a sign, because since they were talking about the gallbladder, the liver is connected to that.
That's right.
So when I see after 40 years the healing that has taken place, as a matter of fact, what was interesting is that at an early stage, I'd say in the first month of the healing process, I noticed my stool began to be yellow as described with what the gallbladder does.
That's right.
That's one of the colors. So it was actually telling me of the transformation that was taking place in the liver. But this particular issue that I have here that they define as psoriasis, it is quite clear now that this is a liver condition that they are claiming is incurable.
Well, liver is a key thing, and when it goes, you're done.
Right.
And it was quite obvious that it was in very bad shape. And I was surprised that no one had identified that to you. But of course, the magnificent thing is that the body will identify it.
Right, yes.
And so your body told us what the
yes.
situation was. No harm on the technology, but
Right.
the body told the truth on the
Yes.
situation. Just like right now, your body is telling us what the whole life solution is.
Right.
You know,
And,
with a problem, our approach. Every problem, you must take that problem, identify it first, and deal with a solution to that problem.
Right.
Don't stack all of it up, problem, then find a solution, because you only manifest conflict, confusion, and chaos, and forget what the problem is.
I spent $1,000 doing examinations, and they're telling me my blood is in good condition or so. Here I am, unable to consume much, bringing up everything that I think. And when I look at the color of the stuff that was coming out of me, between dark brown and jet black, what were these blood tests saying?
Well,
I mean, as you said, my very body was telling me
you what.
just the condition that my body was in. When I can't sit down, when I can't stand up, when I can't lie down, when I could never find a comfortable position to be in. And as you saw me here, and many of the people have commented about it, I mean, I had to kind of wobble while I was walking.
Yeah, it was a little horrifying. We knew we had
to
be very serious and get to you very fast.
Yes, I mean, I could barely stand up. I had to sit down most of the time. And I mean, as I said, so to see that they are going to be telling me that my blood is all right and my body is all right. It's just this little tumor that showed up. It's
Cut it out.
insanity. But there's something that I wanted to touch on briefly, just to shift slightly, in terms of what's resonating within me.
That's right.
As we go a little bit above the physical, and that was being taken care of, and I had nothing to do, in quote, on a limited space, I had no choice but to observe. And this is important because on the mental and spiritual level, right, most of what I'm saying now is you would say, oh, they brainwash Olatunji, blah, 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 blah. And if you did, thanks for the positive brainwashing. Yeah. But the point is, this is a part of the mental and spiritual. By just observing, being in the sanctuary here and observing the lifestyle and all of that is what, activated so much in my genetic blueprint and my relationship to it. Looking at family life, I've studied it for over 40 years. I had semblance of it in my early life. But looking at the real traditional African family life, and to see its impact on my mental and spiritual growth and development, without you saying much to me, just being an observer, I'm telling you, it is deep, it is profound. It is deep and it is profound, and I appreciate that. The lifestyle of what was going on, of course, like everything else, the mind might question little things. But if you have a balance sheet with asset and liabilities, I cannot let my perception of the 5% liabilities offset the 95% benefits. You follow? And most of the little misperceptions that I have is exactly that. Set trying to convince me, hey,
You gotta find
for
something.
69 years, you have treated me this way. You have taught me to eat wrong and to think wrong and to do wrong. How dare you stand up now and tell me I gotta change this? I'm going to show you why what you might be learning is not good for you. But it didn't work. I'm going to have to continue that battle between Set and Heru. And I'm ready and willing. Huh?
You know, that is the battle, and most of our people are not comprehending exactly what's going on, and it is a battle between Set and Heru. And there are other sons that are there, and there are daughters that are there, and that is those sacred ones. There is a Set, there is Nefihet, and we must comprehend the balance and scale of Ma'at. And these languages are languages that have been far removed from us, as what occurred when they made a new declaration of Christianity after making it against the law, and said they would slaughter any of our priests caught teaching the divine principles of our Kemetic culture, that be a higher peace consciousness, that in fact they actually distorted the entire presence of man, he and she upon the planet. And now it's like, how do we fix this mess? And the only way we're going to be able to do it is through divine socioeconomic family community order. That's what our ancestors gave us. Take the time to recognize that it is a time for whole life healing, and that healing cannot possibly take place unless we first identify the problem. Once we identify it, we must begin to detox it, we must begin to purge it, then we can get to the element of healing. And in that healing process, we must know that failure is not an option.
Absolutely.
Thank you all very much.
What's that?
People get ready. The sacred ancestral Naga priesthood has come. The sacred ancestral Naga priesthood has come. Sacred garden culture. Divine children of the sun. Children of the sun. As it was in the beginning. As it was in the beginning.